At this point of the world's longest mountain range, 52 years ago, a plane crashed directly into the mountain. The surprising thing was that the plane disappeared immediately after the collision. This 8,900 kilometers long Andes Mountain of South America range is where 15,000 feet high mountains and nothing is found except unbearable cold and silence. For several days when the wreckage of the ship was found and no bodies were found, it became clear to the authorities that there would be no passengers left, so they announced to stop the search operation. News media also continued to talk about the plane crash for the next few days, and after that everything slowly returned to normal. 2.5 months later, exactly 72 days later, the authorities received a message from the missing plane. Welcome back to zewtv videos. Viewers, it was Uruguayan Air Force Flight 571 that has forever etched its name in the history of rail life by performing a miracle on October 12, 1972. There were 40 passengers and 5 crew members on the plane, including Rig, the player, who had to go from Montevideo to Chile's capital Santiago to play a match. Due to the fact that they had to land in the city of Mendoza, Argentina, the captain made this decision because between Argentina and Chile, the world's highest Andes mountain range stands as a wall. The high mountains here are quite dangerous, and passing over them in bad weather was not without danger. The pilot's plan was to spend one night at Mendoza and then cross the Andes Mountains the next day when the weather cleared. What did the pilot and to all the passengers, what trouble is going to befall them the next day, i.e. on Friday 13 October? Slide 571 took off from Mendoza. If you look at the map, Mendoza and the destination Santiago are only 180 kilometers away, but they in 180 kilometers, only Andes have peaks of 15,000 feet high, so the flight plan route was something like this. First the plane will go south of Mendoza, gain height and then reach Plain Chon Pass to Andes. We'll turn and cross these dangerous mountains and then turn again from the city of Krakow, Chile, and go straight ahead to Sam and land. The pilot of Flight 571 had completed about 50 flights on the same route, so they confident of himself, after taking off from Mendoza. The plane headed south as per the plan. The pilot connects with the control tower, which will continue to tell the pilot its location through the radio by looking at the radar. In addition to the control tower, the pilot can also estimate his location by using the last non-location of the aircraft, considering the aircraft's current location by calculating its speed. This method is called dead reckoning in aviation parlance. They were now passing over the mountains of the Andes at an altitude of 18,000 feet, blue skies above and white clouds below. The pilot was completely dependent on the Santiago Air Traffic Control Tower. As they approached Planchon Pass, Flight 571 disappeared from the control tower's radar. The signals were very weak, so the co-pilot calculated his location by dead reckoning and at 3:21 p.m. radioed the censure control tower that we would be over Krakow, Chile in 1 minute, and from them, he asked for permission to lower his altitude. Now normally it takes 11 minutes for the plane to reach Cari from Planchon Pass, but they covered this distance in just 3 minutes. Because they also did not have Flight 571 showing up on the radar. They gave permission for the aircraft to land and had no idea that the co-pilot actually calculated the location of the plane. He was wrong. The pilot thought he was over the creeks, but in fact they were crossing the Planchon Pass. A huge disaster was waiting for Flight 571. As soon as he got permission from the control tower, the pilot went into the right tone and started reducing the height of the ship. At first they faced dangerous turbulence, but when they crossed the layer of white clouds, They saw that there was a huge mountain standing in front of them. Yes. At this point, the pilot realized that they were actually still in NDs. The pilot tried hard to gain altitude again. The nose of the plane was now pointing skyward. But unfortunately this could have been done a little earlier in the flight. The tail of the 571 hit the top of the mountain and separated from the plane. At that time the mountain was completely covered with snow, causing the tail and wings to slide. Due to the crash, 12 passengers had died on the spot, especially those who were in the back of the plane. Miraculously, the life of 33 passengers was saved in the large fuse of the plane, but they were very small. Due to the separation of the tail, the back of the plane was open and it was very cold. They were stuck in the NDs at an altitude of 11,500 feet where the temperature was -30 degrees Celsius. As soon as they got out, as far as they could see, the snow-covered mountains were visible. First, they buried the bodies of their colleagues in the snow. Meanwhile, the news of the plane crash had alerted the Chilean authorities, but it was not known that he had actually crashed in Argentina. So he wasted no time in launching a search operation in which 4 airplanes participated in searching the suspected area from dawn to dusk. No plane was seen and no debris. It was a very difficult search operation because all the mountains below were reflecting the light due to snow. Uruguay and Argentina also participated in this search operation and now total 11 aircrafts are complete during the day spent searching for Flight 571. The rescue planes passed over the passengers left on the crash site several times, but despite their thousands of signals, the rescue planes could not see them. Later, they were found in a luggage. The lipstick was found with which they wrote a big SOS on the plane's fuse treatment and also made a cross on the ice from the luggage bag, but still the rescue planes could not find them. In 1972, the search operation was terminated by declaring all the passengers dead. On the 11th day, the passengers on the crash site found a radio in the cockpit, which they tuned to hear the news that the search operation to find them was now closed. It has been done where those people were already in so much trouble. This news made them sad even more. The last hope of their survival was gone. In the first week, 5 more passengers died due to injuries. Now there were only 28 passengers left on the crash site. They collected the wreckage and luggage and closed the fuse box of the plane to avoid the cold. They also cut the plastic visor of the cockpit and got glasses for themselves. They used the seat covers for warmth and made snowshoes out of the seat cushions until they had chocolate bars and 3 jams to eat. There were dry fruits and bottles of guinea fowl. For the first week, they divided the food among themselves with great difficulty. But when all these things were gone, they began to eat cloth and cotton. From then on he began to get sicker, and in this part of the Andes he could see nothing for energy, and from the top on which he had crashed, it was not possible to get off, nor to ascend upwards. Meanwhile, the passengers' his condition was that his body weight had decreased by 40%. Finally, when he did not understand anything, he started eating the body parts of his dead colleagues. Obviously, this decision was very difficult, but he ate onions and weakness forced him to take this step. On October 29, 17 days after the crash, a sudden avalanche occurred at night and hit the fuselage badly. Filled with ice, 9 survivors were killed in the accident. The remaining 19 people managed to clear the ice and make room for oxygen. The condition of the survivors was getting worse and worse. One by one they were dying and the survivors were waiting for their death. On December 12, that is, 60 days after the crash, 3 more survivors died. 16 people had only 2 options: either to start counting down their days or to dare to climb this vertical cliff in the west at any cost and climb 3 rigs on December 12, 1972. Also, players Prado Caniza and Wizone Tan set out to hike Western Peak in the hope that the other side of the mountain would be Green Valley, where they might get some help. There were cares, and above all the temperature was -30°C. They wrapped themselves in handmade sleeping bags and warm clothes made from airplane seats and went on a hike after 3 whole days of continuous hiking when they finally reached Mount. When you reach the top of the mountain, you see that there are similar snow-covered mountains on the other side of the mountain. Here too, there was no greenery and no traces of life. After trekking down the other side of the mountain in search of help, after trekking for the next 10 days and traveling 61 kilometers in bad conditions, they finally reached a valley with greenery, animals and a flowing river. There were animals and the river was also flowing. First they drank water from the river, then they saw a man on a horse across the river, because of the husband of the river. They were not able to convey their message to the man on the horse. Idea sat this local and he wrapped a paper and a pen in a stone and threw it across the river. And Canisa wrote the whole story on this paper and threw it back. The man took the letter to the Chilean authorities on horseback. But the authorities immediately rescued Prado and Canisa first and, after bandaging him, explained the details. Interviewed on 20 December 1972, that is, 72 days after the crash, 3 helicopters reached the crash site on the indication of Prado and Canisa. The pilot was also surprised to see the top of the mountain that these 2 rigs were also made by the players without any care and experience. How could this mountain have been climbed? Finally, all the survivors in the fuselage were rescued and their dead comrades were buried there by digging a big grave and placing some stones on top of this grave to make a memorial. In the same condition, this memorial is still there. It also reminds us that if a person does not lose courage, he can overcome the biggest problem. I hope you will like and share this video of zewtv. Thank you very much for the lovely comments of the people. See you in the next wonderful video.